salmonellosis. Paratyphoid is an acute or chronic disease of poultry, many other birds and mammals caused by any one of the large group of salmonella that are not host specific. Paratyphoid is an acute or chronic disease of poultry, many other birds and mammals caused by any one of a large group of salmonella that are not host specific. These bacterial infections are of much more importance for public health impact than for economic losses in the affected animals. Poultry products have been repeatedly implicated in human outbreak of salmonellosis and all health management. Etiology: Paratyphoid salmonella. Paratyphoid salmonella have consisted of salmonella that are motile and not host adapted, in contrast with salmonella falciparum and salmonella gallinarum, which are non-motile and highly host adapted. There are more than 2,500 serovar of salmonella enterica, but only 10% of these have been isolated from poultry. Most paratyphoid organisms contain endotoxin, which is responsible for their pathogenic effects. Paratyphoid organisms are moderately resistant in their natural environment but are susceptible to most disinfectant and to fumigation with formaldehyde gas. Epidemiology: Paratyphoid organisms often localized in the intestine or gallbladder of carriers. They are intermittently shed in the feces and thus contaminate eggshells, feed and water. Poultry, other birds, reptile, insects, and various mammals, including humans, can disseminate salmonella. Infection of young chicks occur primarily by fecal contamination of eggshells with paratyphoid organisms and subsequent penetration into the egg. Some chicks are infected at the time of hatch and the infection spreads horizontally. Contaminated eggs. These products often are contaminated after processing. Heated, pelleted products seldom containing living salmonella. Interspecies transmission of paratyphoid organisms doesn't occur often through environmental contamination. Rodents are an important reservoir for paratyphoid organisms. Paratyphoid is an important public health problem, and this aspect of the disease is by far the greatest challenge to the poultry industry. Clinical signs: profuse diarrhea followed by dehydration, fasting or wetting of the vent area, dropping with shivering and huddling near heat source. There usually is high mortality, especially during the first 2 weeks of brooding. Although these are variable, the course often is short in individual birds. Increased mortality can be observed in layers naturally infected with Salmonella enteritis at the onset of laying. There usually is dehydration and marked enteritis, often with focal necrosis lesion in the mucosa of the small intestine. A raised plaque in the intestinal mucosa and cheesy cecal course are often seen in birds that survive. Inflammation of the oviduct and ovaries with pericarditis, prehepatitis, and or peritonitis has been observed in flock naturally infected with Salmonella enteritis. Diagnosis: the etiological agent should be isolated from multiple organs and positively identified using polyvalent Salmonella antiserum. Most labs can identify in isolate as Salmonella. Some, namely Salmonella enteritis and Salmonella typhimurium, have rapid antigen detection kits as well as PCR tests, making rapid, accurate diagnosis easily. Control: breeder flock should be monitored bacteriologically for Salmonella infection in conjunction with effort to minimize flock exposure. If possible, all birds should be sold after one lay season, thus eliminating carriers while the premises is vacated. It should be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected, eliminating rodents by trapping them. Influx provided with nest. The nest should be kept clean. Replace nesting material frequently as needed. Maintain a high standard of sanitation in all operations. Gather eggs frequently and store them in a cool place. Separate dirty eggs from clean eggs at the time of gathering. Egg sanitation may be necessary at the poultry farm during the storage that precedes storage and incubation at the hatchery. Fumigating hatching eggs as recommended during incubation, done routinely. Practice Scalabrous hatchery sanitation. Practice hatchery sanitations. Raise new broods of birds in all-in, all-out system. Add no new birds to the started brood. Don't permit contact with wild birds, mammals, rodent and reptile. Control insect population. Provide uncontaminated feed ingredient in the ration. Pelleted feed are more likely to be feed of salmonella as long as there is no cross-contamination after the pelleting process. If necessary, specific antigen may be prepared and used in the agglutination test for eliminating carriers. This has been done by Salmonella typhimurium, but not for most other paratyphoid organisms. Once developed, the test antigen can be used on a regular basis at the time of annual Palluram flu typhoid test. One day, all the chicks and boys are often inoculated at the hatchery with antibiotic to control mortality from paratyphoid and other bacterial infection. Many commercial vaccines, both live and killed, are available for vaccination of commercial egg layer and broiler breeder against Salmonella enteritidis and Salmonella typhimurium. Unfortunately, they don't prevent infection but do reduce shedding. Treatment with antibiotic doesn't eliminate Salmonella infection and has very minimal value. Use of antimicrobial to eliminate Salmonella colonization may imperil their medical usefulness by promoting resistance.